And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another episode of Podcast on the Brink, your weekly dose of Indiana University basketball news and discussion. I'm your host, Jerod Morris. Podcast on the Brink is a joint production of the Assembly Call and Inside the Hall. For complete coverage of IU basketball, visit assemblycall.com and insidethehall.com. On this week's edition of Podcast on the Brink, we are joined by former Hoosier Maurice Creek, and I'm just going to say it right now, this is one of my favorite episodes of Podcast on the Brink that we've ever done. We talk with Maurice about the high point of his time at Indiana, his performance against Kentucky, and obviously the low points of his time at Indiana, his injuries, his decision to transfer, and what he's been up to since then. An amazing perspective that Maurice has, especially his perspective on IU fans, which you all will definitely want to hear. Just a fantastic conversation with a fantastic guy. Maurice Creek, our guest on this week's episode of Podcast on the Brink. Hey, real quick, a word about this week's sponsor, SeatGeek. Buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated, but there is a better, simpler way to buy with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to live events, because with SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, you can buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps. SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, fully guaranteed. There really is nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. I have SeatGeek on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way that I've found to shop for tickets. I can be anywhere, and like I just mentioned, with just a few taps, I can instantly find seats to anything that I want to go to. I actually used SeatGeek to buy tickets earlier this year to see Yogi play here in Dallas. I bought my wife concert tickets for the summer. So SeatGeek is designed to make your ticket buying experience easier than ever. They save you time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare prices and find amazing deals. Now, here's how to get an even better deal, which is Podcast on the Brink listeners get $20 off of your first SeatGeek purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code BRINK, B-R-I-N-K today, and you'll get $20 back from SeatGeek. That's promo code BRINK, B-R-I-N-K. And now, on with this week's episode of Podcast on the Brink. All right, we are here with former Indiana Hoosier Maurice Creek, one of the members of Tom Crean's second recruiting class that featured Jordan Hulls, Christian Watford, and Derek Elston. Maurice, thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you for taking time to talk to me.
For sure, man. So, obviously, we want to discuss your time at IU and some other topics. But before we do that, catch us up real quick on your professional basketball journey. Are you still playing in Germany?
I just got back from Germany maybe a couple of months ago, back in April. Just now I'm here in Rockville now, training kids and, doing something in the summer that, involves basketball and staying in shape and stuff like that for my next season.
Do you know where you'll be next season?
I'm not sure yet. We haven't signed. I haven't signed any contracts or anything yet, so I'm still in the process of looking around.
Yeah. And how has it been going in Germany? Have you been playing well? Has the team been doing well?
It was good. I got to the team late, but they decided to pick me up, and I ended up being the second leading scorer behind their first leading scorer who, was there the whole time. So it was a good experience. We didn't really do so well, but I got in and made a big impact, a big effort, and fans in Germany really appreciated it.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, obviously, we wish you good luck with wherever you end up playing next season.
Thank you.
For sure. So let's go back to 2009, your freshman season, and Indiana was coming off, obviously, one of the worst seasons in school history, and you guys were just 4-4 to start the year, but you were coming off a surprising victory over Pittsburgh out in New York, and Kentucky came to town. Very talented, highly favored, and though they ended up winning, you delivered one of the great shooting performances in Indiana history. You scored 31 points, 5 of 8 from three-point range, 9 of 14 overall, and you basically, were single-handedly the reason why Indiana was down just by 1 at halftime to a team that had John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, DeMarcus Cousins. And I'm sure Indiana fans ask you about this all the time, but take us back to that day. What are your memories of that game?
Just waking up in the morning, stressing a lot, knowing that we had a big opportunity of winning the game. And, we knew that they were a very talented team, but we came in with the mindset of just, just bringing it every day. And, I got up, did my routine, listened to music, and, when it was time to warm up, I was very nervous. I haven't really played against a talented team like that. That was my first time, really, other than AAU. But it was fun to play against those guys, man. I knew all those guys. It was like a rivalry inside of, not just Indiana, Kentucky, but between friends because, we all knew each other. But I was very surprised with myself. I didn't know I would come out sharp like that. And then it was just one of them days.
Yeah, and anytime I think back to that game, I really feel like that performance by you was one of the more underrated performances, by any player during Tom Crean's time at IU. Because, for me as a fan, it was kind of the first flicker that we had, elite championship level talent back in Bloomington and that things were looking up after obviously, what had been a really down season. When that game happened, I mean, did it feel to you, like the kind of thing that would be part of your legacy as a player and that people would still be bringing up, 7-8 years later?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I didn't think it would be that, but people to this day still say, "Hey, man, I remember you at the Kentucky game getting 31 points." So it's amazing what one or two games can do for you as far as your legacy at a predominant school.
Maurice, what was it like those first couple of years? Because you were there. I mean, you weren't there for the first year when it was kind of at the bottom, but you were there for some really tough times. Obviously, we'll get into the injury stuff, but just being a part of a program that was, expected to do great things, but you guys had so far to go. How was it just trying to kind of get things going, momentum going those first couple of years?
It was a grind, and we knew that. We knew we were going to come in young. And my freshman year, we came in with 6 freshmen, and we didn't know what to expect because we had sophomores, juniors, and I don't know if we had any seniors, but we had some sophomores and juniors. And, when we started figuring out, like, hey, we might be playing a lot, what I'm saying? We just took it in, embraced it, and grinded every day. I don't think none of us knew how hard it was going to be until we actually got into playing the games and know, like, oh, crap, these are talented teams, So we got to come out every day. And even teams we didn't feel like we would ever lose to, we were losing to. And it was tough at first, but, the most important thing, I think, was the unity between that class. And, I mean, even though some of the people left, we still had a unison where, we hung out with each other and stuff like that. We grew up together. And as you can see, a couple years later, beat the team, beat Kentucky at number 1, and then we go to the Sweet 16 twice and stuff like that. So it was just a grind all the way through. And I really did appreciate all the time, the good times and the bad times because we learned a lot from both.
I still remember coming to the Derby Festival game. I'm not sure if you remember this, coming there. You and Christian and Jordan came to that game, and it seemed like you three and then also Derek Elston were kind of the foundation in terms of kind of getting the program, back on the right footing. What's your relationship like with those guys to this day? I mean, do you still talk to any of those guys? And what was your relationship like with those three when you were in Bloomington?
I may chat with them here and there, but I know they're on their grind too. As far as the summertime, they're working out. Some of them are playing in the TBT tournament. So, Derek's probably doing something with coaching, and getting himself ready. I know he's with the guys probably right now as we speak. But in Bloomington, man, it was a blessing. Jordan's mom and dad was a big help to me, especially when I got hurt. Christian's mom and dad the whole family kept being supportive of me and everything. And that's just a part of, being a family. And so you get not only the basketball aspect, but you get the people that really care about you coming about and really taking care of you, especially when I got hurt. But as far as us three, we had a great relationship, man. Like I said, we did stuff together and we tried to, make it sure that, know what I'm saying, we stuck together because even though we was in of hard times, we knew at some point it was going to get good, and it sure did.
You know, Maurice, you mentioned the injuries, and I just remember being so crushed, you know, when you went down, when you got hurt, obviously multiple times, and I'm sure, you know, any feeling that I had is, you know, 1/1000th of the way that you felt. How, as an athlete, as an elite athlete, you know, with so much in front of you and obviously so much potential, how did you deal with those injuries? And to this day, is that something that you look back on with regret, or is it something that you tried to turn into a positive in some way?
I embrace it every day. You know, I feel like everything happens for a reason. And, you know, I wish it wouldn't have happened my freshman year. You know, I was having a great year and still getting to learn. And even though I was playing really well, I still had a lot to learn as far as a young basketball player. I was only 18, you know, so it was something that really crushed me at first. But then as time went on, you know, my family support, all the fan support and everything like that really helped me out as far as my injuries and stuff like that. And, you know what I'm saying, going down 3 times in 22 months is tough, but, you know what I'm saying, I stuck with it. And, you know what I'm saying, I think the thing that got me through was thinking of my daughter, knowing that I had to provide and get through it somehow, some way. And I knew I didn't want to have a regular job. I still wanted to play this game. So I grinded, busted my butt, and Coach Tim Garl and Coach Janae Jackson and, you know what I'm saying, all the coaches, even the scouts and stuff like that, they put me through a grind, man. They helped me, and they helped me keep my mind right. They helped me keep my spirits right, and that's what you need when you go through something that's big as what I went through. You need that unison, that family, and them people that really do care about you to know that, you know, so you're not in it alone. You know, we're here with you, we're here for you, and when you got that, you know, so you can make comebacks. You can, you know what I'm saying, embrace stuff that happened to you, and you know, I had no choice but to embrace it.
You were a member of the 2013 team that won the Big Ten title, and you know, obviously, from where the program was when you got there to where it got in 2013, that had to be, you know, a great achievement. Although I'm sure you kind of assumed by that point that you would, you know, be playing a bigger role, be playing more minutes, but obviously because of the injury, you weren't able to. What was that season like? You know, going through that and the highs of that season as a team, but not necessarily being able to contribute as much as I'm sure you wanted to individually.
It was tough. I felt like I still had a lot in the tank, and I was working hard to get there, and, you know, it just didn't work out, you know, and, you know, I talked to my parents and some of my friends about it to this day, but, you know, it was something I learned, like, this is a business, and, you know, it's the next man up, and so when you get hurt and stuff like that, you have to work just as hard and twice as hard to get back into, you know what I'm saying, having their mind like, okay, he can actually contribute for us and stuff like that. So I mean, like I said, it was a tough process because I never went through nothing like that. I think the last time I went through something like that was playing my freshman year of high school when I tried varsity, you know what I'm saying? And, you know what I'm saying, you got seniors there and stuff like that, but you're not about to get that time. So that was like maybe the first time in that long that I felt like, you know, maybe this team was going on the uprise, and maybe it's my time to maybe look somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You know, you talk about still having the, you know, the perspective to be a good teammate, but also, you know, looking at it from a business perspective. When did you come to the realization? I know you got your degree at IU. You had a lot of memories there. You obviously had good relationships with your teammates, but when did you maybe come to the realization that you know, this is something where I got to look out maybe for myself and go to a better opportunity for me to play more the next season?
I think it was a tough process. I was thinking about it so much, like, should I transfer? Should I not transfer? Should I stick it out? Should I not stick it out? You know, I think once I graduated, it was before I graduated, but probably a few days. I was thinking like a few days, maybe a couple of weeks before graduation. I just had it in my mind, maybe before I even thought about transferring. I was thinking about transferring because, you know, you go through practices and stuff every day. And, you know what I'm saying, even though you may not, you know what I'm saying, I guess I didn't fulfill a role that they needed at that time, but I still felt like I could play the game. But I couldn't get no feel for it because, you know, wasn't hitting the floor. So, you know, like I said, I had hard long talk with my parents and stuff like that, and they thought it was the right decision. I kind of felt like, hey, yeah, this might be that time, and had to move on.
The interesting thing about this is, as Indiana fans will know, and you know, I'm at pretty much every game, home and away, and you know, I watched that next season up close, and also followed you from afar. And Indiana did not end up making the tournament that next season, and you did at George Washington. Had a terrific year, and a lot of people as that season went along said we could have used Maurice Creek because they didn't have a shooter. They didn't, you know, the guard play wasn't great. What was it like, you know, the transition to George Washington? You had that shot, I think a lot of people will remember, against Maryland. You had a great year.
Yep.
You made the tournament. What was it like to finally get back out there and be in a role that where maybe you felt a little bit more valuable to the team?
It was great. It was everything I could have asked for out of George Washington. When I was at Indiana and putting in all the hard work and the grinds that I did, you know what I'm saying, going to class and stuff every day, you know what I'm saying, and not playing, you kind of get the feeling like you want to go somewhere that you want it and, I mean, need it and just not want it, you know? And so when I transferred to George Washington, before I even transferred to George Washington, we was going through a process, and, you know, Texas, Marshall, and George Washington came about and stuff like that. And I had already went on a visit to George Washington, you know, just to see the coaching staff and stuff like that. And before I even stepped on the floor, they was just like telling me automatically, we want you to come here, want you to be a big part of our program. We need a shooter. We have every piece of the puzzle. We just need a shooter. And it just wowed me, you know what I'm saying, that, hey, you know what I'm saying, you're close to home. They need a shooter, and they have a really good unison and a program. Like, it's not known because, you know, you got your Marylands and Georgetown, and anybody want to go to those schools because they're bigger. You know, and George Washington's a mid-major. But when I thought about it, to make it better, I had a guy that I already knew in Isaiah Armwood there. You know what I'm saying? He was telling me, like, you know, we could do special things here. Like, you know what I'm saying, your 1 year, this is my senior year. We can do special things here. We can definitely, everybody here already been through the grind. They just had a 13-17 season, and they needed that score. They need the elite scorer and a shooter. And he was like, man, if you come here, I guarantee, you know what I'm saying, we'll get to the NCAA tournament. There's no doubt. Everybody has been through the grind, the hustle and stuff like that. And that's why I picked them. You know, they made me feel like family right off the break. And I can never, you know what I'm saying, it was a struggle at first, you know what I'm saying, because, you know, they play a certain type of offense, flex offense and stuff like that. I had to learn and had to, you know what I'm saying, get used to and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I embraced it and, you know, was averaging the most on the team and, you know what I'm saying, helping these guys get to the NCAA tournament. I felt like the coaching staff trusted me to make the best decisions for this team. And they looked at me as a leader. And that's everything that I wanted in a college basketball team, and I got it my senior year.
Maurice, you know, sometimes when players transfer, it's not always an amicable breakup between the player and the fan base. But in your case, at least kind of in the fan circles that I run in, you know, George Washington almost became like our second team that we were rooting for, you know, rooting you on, wanting to see you be successful. What was your relationship like with Indiana fans, you know, after that decision, and how has it been since then?
I love Indiana fans. I would never stop loving Indiana fans. You know, they're the reason why I'm picked up to this day. Other than family and your friends, stuff like that, that's keeping in your mind, like, you could do this, you could do this. Indiana fans have gave me the most support that I've ever had, honestly. And, you know what I'm saying, I always root for Indiana. I don't have no bad burns against Indiana because of what happened. You know, we just split up in different ways, but just because you split up don't mean you can't support you know what I'm saying, the other team that you was already there for, you know, I mean, that you was already at. So I love Indiana fans. Like I said, I'll never stop loving them, and I thank them for all the support that they've given me. I thank them for, you know what I'm saying, just being with me through the process. And it's been great, you know. I'm always wanting to come back, but I'm just always on the grind here, so I really don't have the time to get back. But I just, you know, I would love to go back to Indiana and enjoy Bloomington and come back sometime. Yeah.
I know in your 1 year against George Washington, you guys played a game against Dayton. I think they beat you guys, and now Dayton's coach, former coach Archie Miller, is the head guy in Bloomington. Any thoughts on that transition for the program, and what maybe you remember about playing against Dayton when Archie Miller was the coach?
Well, I didn't play against Dayton that year. I had a stomach virus and stuff like that. I ended up missing one game, and that was the game that I ended up missing. But as far as the team and the culture, I know Dayton was a really good team. They were really good defensively. They was really up and down offensively, and that's what teams weren't really used to. They weren't really used to getting up and down with Dayton, and that's why they were a very successful team. So when I heard Archie Miller was coming to Indiana, I was like, wow, that's a big step, because I can just see him putting in that same culture that he had at Dayton into Indiana, and Indiana already being a fast-paced team because of how Coach Crean played just made it everything better. You know, they're going to be getting up a lot of shots in quick amount of time just because I see that's what's going on. And defensively, they'll be a lot better because, you know, Archie Miller, that's what he's known for. He's known for having that defensive mindset and getting everybody ready and winning games. And he's proven himself. You know, at Dayton, he has all of these NCAA tournament, you know, wins, and, you know, to just get into that tournament. And I think he even went, Sweet 16, Elite 8 one time? So,
yeah, Elite 8, yeah.
Yeah, Elite 8, see? So, you know, just having that culture come into Indiana, that's a great feeling just to have.
Mo, I've seen you tweet a couple of times during IU games. How closely do you – I know you're overseas and you got other things. How closely do you still follow the program when you get a chance?
I follow it a lot. I'm on Twitter sometimes. I'm really on Instagram a lot, but I follow it a lot. Every time Indiana plays, I always try to get the game. I always try to follow as much as possible. It's just something I do because that was my first home. You know, it's not gonna stop being my first home. And even though I finished up at GW, it's still Indiana still was where I all started at. And I'm not gonna stop embracing Indiana for anything.
Yeah, Maurice, we talked about, you know, obviously your injuries, and we talked about the obvious, you know, high point individually for you, the Kentucky game. As you reflect back on your time at Indiana, what are some of the other positive memories that stick out of, you know, your time wearing the cream and crimson?
Just coming out for that first March Madness, Midnight Madness, that was probably my most nervousness I had in a while because everybody was there. It was crowded, but I had fun, and I'll never forget that. That was probably one of the best moments of my life, just coming out there and them candy stripes for that first time, man, and, you know, playing in the games, stuff like that. But I'll just always remember the crowd. I remember the crowd. I remember the grind that we put in together, the struggle, even though some of the things I didn't want to do and I had to get it done and stuff like that. And that's just, you know, what would be always in my mind, you know, just embracing the time that I had at Indiana and never looking back and saying maybe this was the wrong decision, because I would never think about it in the wrong decision, because I always would think about it of being in the right decision. So that's about it.
You know, other than making a Final Four, you basically experienced everything, good and bad, that a college basketball player can experience, and now you're playing professionally. With the benefit of hindsight, what advice would you give to a freshman arriving on campus right now who's about to begin his own college basketball journey? What
I would say to them is just come in prepared to grind. You know, this is it's a whole totally different ball game from high school. And, you know, now you're playing against people who are a lot older than you and, you know what I'm saying, they want the same thing you want. So I would say just come in prepared to grind and just come in with the mindset that you're not just a freshman. You're a player on this team. You're not a freshman just, you know what I'm saying, wanting to sit on the bench and stuff like that. If you put in the hard work, you know what I'm saying, in the hustle and the grind, you don't know, great things may happen. And look at it from a lot of the freshmen that's been drafted this year. They put in the grind and went through the struggles and stuff like that, but they got drafted. You know what I'm saying? They got drafted top 5 here, and it's like 17. It was like 17 in the first round at first. So just come in prepared for that college grind.
Prepare to grind. You know, Maurice, when you write a book, and based on the perspective that you've shared with us in this interview, I think that should be the title. Prepare to grind.
Definitely.
Well, Maurice, man, this has been wonderful. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your perspective. And obviously, we wish you luck, next year, wherever your professional career takes you. And just, on behalf of all IU fans, we really appreciated all of just the effort and the heart and the grind that you put into being the best player that you could be at Indiana. And just thank you for everything.
Thank you. I really do appreciate y'all giving me the time to talk to y'all about my experience and everything. I think it was a blessing, to have y'all in person and now, So it's great, man. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you, Maurice. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Podcast on the Brink. We always appreciate you being here. To get more from me and from Alex, visit assemblycall.com and insidethehall.com for complete coverage of Indiana University basketball. If you liked this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend or family member who loves IU basketball as much as you do. You can also support the show by leaving a rating and review on iTunes, which helps us get the word out to more IU fans like yourself. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode. Until then, as always, go Hoosiers.